Welcome to the new episode of the International Market Brief. This is a monthly webinar hosted by ICCA North America chapters. Every month we talk about a topic that impacting international meetings. So today we are really excited to have the opportunity to have Jürgen from the Maastricht Convention Bureau, and then also Jessica Pagonis is with Rica, who are from the association side, to join us to talk about a new way of running a destination strategy in attracting association meeting, which is leveraging the knowledge hub dynamic into your whole destination. So first of all, maybe we can starting with the quick introductions of each speakers. Jürgen, would you like to quickly introduce yourself in case some of our folks don't know you before?
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me, Sean. And I'm very happy that we can do this in co-production also with Jessica Pagonis, who knows Maastricht very well. More on that later. My name is Jürgen Morris. I'm with the Convention Bureau in the role of CEO since 2015, representing Maastricht Convention Bureau in its new setup since 2025. And that's the main topic of focus for this webinar. I'm born and raised here in the Maastricht region, studied in Maastricht University with a background in European studies and business administration. And I love to work in this industry since it's a very dynamic world in which we find ourselves.
Looking forward to learn from you soon. Jessica, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Jessica Pagonis. I'm a senior director at ICCA, which is a professional society for optics and photonics. We support research, innovation, education through journals, conferences, and professional development. I will skip on the age, but I have been in the industry for over 20 years. And yes, I've been to Maastricht a few times for some meetings. I love this industry. It's true to my heart.
Jürgen, I think the Maastricht approach, from my understanding, leaning heavily on the knowledge hubs concept rather than the traditional destination attractiveness or venue capacity. So can you walk us through what that looked like in practice and also the reason behind Maastricht going to this approach?
Okay, the main theme of this presentation is the complete change management that we went through as Maastricht Convention Bureau. In the recent year, in 2025, was a major turning point in our history. And that's the main theme of this presentation. Beyond the destination, where conferences really connect to purpose, and the triple helix approach underneath that as a fundament is the main takeaway for today. We have several topics that I would like to touch upon. That's how we build relevance really as a region with a regional approach, where we diverted from a city-based convention bureau more into a regional setup, a broader region in the province of Limburg, scaling up from a city to a broader metropolitan area. The knowledge-driven approach is key in that perspective, and I will explain how we connect conferences that we host really to the knowledge hubs that we have in place in our region. The knowledge clusters known under the branding name of Brightlands, which I will explain later on. And then I will explain how this opens doors for the association, how the delegate experience is really enhanced by bringing delegates out of the venue into the knowledge clusters, into the incubators, and by facilitating really out-of-the-box program items during a conference with lab tours and matchmaking and connecting them really to our industry. Okay, for those of you who have never been to Maastricht, Maastricht is based in the most southern part of the Netherlands, the most southern province, here indicated in blue on screen. We share actually more border line with the neighboring countries, Belgium and Germany, than with our fellow Dutch neighbors, partners in the national, let's say, province structure. We have on the left side, we have Belgium, on the right side, we have Germany, and we're located in between major cities as Amsterdam, London, Paris, and Berlin, for example. Maastricht is often referred to as the oldest city in the Netherlands. It was founded in the Roman era by the Romans as a fortified crossing point in that river Meuse. The river Meuse connects the two sides of the city with that age-old bridge. And Maastricht was founded under the name Mosam Trajectum, which later became Maastricht. As I said, we're very international. We have an exceptional hospitality with great hotels, world-class gastronomy, a lot of Michelin star restaurants, but also very nice cozy bars where you can have excellent street food and typical international cuisine. And Maastricht is often referred to as the most popular destination for Dutch within their own country because people feel abroad. It's really a destination where you hear a lot of different languages. You hear French, German, English in the streets. And very important is also that thriving scientific ecosystem that will get a lot of attention later on in this presentation. To give you a bit of, let's say, historical background, the broader perspective, we were founded by the city of Maastricht in 1984, and we were, let's say, set up as a city convention bureau, Maastricht Convention Bureau, under the flag of the, at that time, DMO. I had the pleasure of coming on board in 2015 and then taking up that glove as CEO. And a few years later, when I was well on board, I asked myself the question, okay, if we keep doing what we do in that setup that we have, focusing on the entire MICE industry, so meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions, and we do that for the city of Maastricht and mainly affiliated to health and life science meetings, do we then add value in the long term? And then I came to an insight and I said, okay, let's investigate how we can change our approach, scale up and affiliate ourselves more with the Maastricht University. We have 6 different faculties. There's much more than only medical and life science meetings. At the same time, we had a new campus structure established in the region with 4 different knowledge clusters. And then I started working on that, and that led to a complete fundamental change in 2025. Founded in 84, we started, and we still are a public-private entity, so we have subsidies from local and regional government, and we have business partners. I started in 2015 with the support of the city of Maastricht and 40 partners from the private sector. And today it's more than 100 partners in the private sector. And we have not only 1 city, but a broad scope of 4 cities and the regional government involved. Because what was the change about? It was the complete new vision that I put on the table and that I started working on, convincing regional stakeholders to become part of that new story, of that new narrative. And for me, that was really the key thing to bring the convention bureau to the next level based on 2 major fundamental changes. One was of our horizon, so scaling up from a city to a region, affiliating ourselves to 4 different sectors, being the 4 sectors under the flag of Brightlands, the incubators and knowledge clusters of Brightlands. We applied a sector-based business development approach. I will explain how we make that work nowadays in a few minutes. That was one major step ahead. The other step ahead was the geographical focus, expanding from the old focus on the national market and on Europe to a broader horizon where we also intensively work in the US with our partner agency, Arena Destination Marketing, based in the US and representing really our office, our bureau in the US market. So these were 2 major points of change in that strategy. Now, what did it take to get new stakeholders on board? These stakeholders are the city of Maastricht, 3 other cities with their campus infrastructure, with their Brightlands knowledge clusters, and also the full support and mandate that we got from the regional government. All of them committed themselves to our new strategy, our new business case for the duration of 4 years. So that's a very significant thing. So they're skin in the game, as I say, they pay and support us, and they do that for the longer term, since they're convinced that the vision that we established, that I put on the table, is really adding value for the region. It took a clear perspective, a lot of perseverance from my side, the outspoken mandates of those new stakeholders to make it work, to invest collectively in that new vision, and to carry out that strategy that was established. Here you see the moment where it all came live. We launched a new organization. That was in 2025. You see on this picture the major political decision makers and the CEOs of the various Brightlands campuses. It was essential, in my perspective, to have a very clear business plan and to keep playing with cards on the table towards all the parties involved. And we did that by also bringing on an external strategy consultant who did a feasibility study and checked if what I wrote in my vision paper was actually possible. So we brought in the devil's advocate, and they checked and monitored and also financially built the case if what I had in mind could be really carried out. And the end product was that it was very interesting, that it was feasible to invest in. And based on this outcome, I could get a buy-in from the regional stakeholders and all the politicians. And my advice would be to other destinations, be transparent, keep people aligned, stick to the time schedule, and also flag it up if you cannot make a deadline or if you encounter hiccups, be transparent. You might ask yourself, okay, why did you get that buy-in then? And why are people enthusiastic about your plan to scale up from a city-based approach to a regional area? Of course, the span of control is much bigger. And you talk about a broader range of in multiple cities, more industry involved, etc. And you serve really the 6 faculties of Maastricht University. That's of course clear. But I could also get that buy-in because we framed it in the right way and we really positioned with this story conferences as a catalyst for the regional economy. I see conferences and scientific meetings not as tourism. I see it really as a driving force for developing the knowledge infrastructure, the knowledge ecosystem that we have in our region, and a fantastic model to generate and to give impact to what we do. And what do I mean with that is that we attract conferences that fit to what we do, that match our top sectors. An example given from north to south, we have 4 main sectors. We have agribusiness, food and nutrition. We have chemistry, new materials. We have data science, AI, cybersecurity and smart services. And we have healthcare and life sciences. And we want to attract conferences to this region that really build up to what we already have, that add value, that make us stronger. And by attracting these conferences, we can also make these societies that choose for our region, we can also make them stronger. So there's mutual interest there and a clear win-win. And that's how I really, let's say, positioned the new vision. It's much more than only occupancy of hotels. It's very valuable, let's say, traffic coming in. It's a counterbalance also to leisure tourism, often in the weekends and at the peak moments. But it's also really a booster for what we do, scientifically speaking, in the region, and a great way to increase the international visibility of our institutes, our universities, and our knowledge clusters. So nowadays, since 2025, in the new setup, not only 1 city, the city of Maastricht, but 4 in total, fully mandated by the regional government and strongly affiliated with the 4 knowledge hubs of Brightlands. That will come back later. And as I said, yeah, the private sector said, Jürgen, this is fantastic. We want to jump on that bandwagon and become a part of it. You're, let's say, a promotion vehicle, a sales vehicle, internationally speaking. It's going very well. You scale up, you have more people, you have specialists, business development managers per sector, and you present us and represent us in the outside world. So we want to join. And that's how we sustainably grew our network of business partners. That new approach required a new brand identity. So that was very important. We worked on that very intensively to come up with a new brand identity, name and slogan. And you see it here, Maastricht Convention Bureau, open up your world in Brightlands. That's what we stand for. You land probably in Maastricht, you come into the region there. It's the major magnet, the major hub in the region. And from there you fly out, go into the region, connect to the Brightlands campuses, to the scientists, to the entrepreneurs, and to everything that we have in place. We diverted from only city and destination marketing based on Maastricht to a more regional approach. And what we now do is more regional branding and, of course, positioning that broader area of Limburg. And it also gave a new perspective to our team. We scaled up in terms of team members. We are now 11 people and still growing. So it's also a very nice sustainable growth path there. To summarize, you can say that we are, let's say, a key connector, a key broker in a triple helix approach, where we as Maastricht Convention Bureau, in the light of conferences that we want to attract to the region, connect 3 major pillars, which is the knowledge ecosystem with the research institutes, the university, the Brightlands knowledge clusters, etc., with industry, on the other hand, with entrepreneurs, with companies, with startups, and then that again connected with government involvement, incoming delegates, but also industry and scientists, also to regional political decision makers, the municipalities, the investment bank, and that's where something pops up and is initiated. Their innovation is really sparked in the middle of that triangle. A short movie to disrupt my story a little bit that showcases in 2 minutes. We stopped there with the fantastic image of Chateau near Cannes, where Jessica and her Optica Society will have the fantastic gala evening in July, so in a couple of weeks. The Brightlands, the knowledge hubs showcased here schematically with their KPIs in terms of companies hosted, people employed, and researchers active. So per campus, you see what's going on. The 4 top sectors from north to south. On the right side, you see the province of Limburg, with in the top north, the Greenport Venlo campus. In the middle of the province, in the center, so to say, the Brightlands Camelot campus, focusing on chemistry, new materials, and smart materials. In the south, directly connected to the city of Maastricht and actually adjacent to our MECC conference venue, is the health campus. And towards the German border, we have the Brightlands Smart Services campus. And those partners are really key. They're essential for what we do because we connect with them on a daily basis. We have very strong alliances with the various CEOs, but also with the business development teams and with the scientific specialists on site. And that makes us successful also in that way. So we have a sector-based approach, as I said. We have 5 business development managers. One of them is focusing on an individual sector. So we have dedicated people, one for healthcare, for food nutrition, for chemistry, and for data science, and an additional person for other sectors affiliated more to the Maastricht University, because also, let's say, innovation, legislation, law, entrepreneurship, and innovation, which might be general teams, is of course something we want to facilitate. But mainly we are proactively seeking for connections in these 4 top sectors, so to say. So what did it bring to us, this new approach? We are almost 1 year after the launch. We can already say that this new approach as a regional convention bureau brought us a very strong foothold, much stronger than before. We're successfully active, I would say, in Europe and in the US. Last year, we wrote 51 bid books, so that's 51 tailor-made proposals issued by our convention bureau. So that showcases that there is an enormous potential in the pipeline really for what we do for our region. We host more conferences due to the fantastic venue that we have in Maastricht. The MECC Conference Center was recently renovated. It's a fantastic venue with 52 breakout rooms where also multiple meetings can take place, so multiple smaller meetings. And also really large-scale conferences can take place, and then they take over, of course, the entire venue. We also built our own transparent monitoring and reporting tools, AI-driven. We have an in-house data analyst who really measures and checks everything that is going on, all the traffic coming to the region, so that we can also report very transparently back to our stakeholders and showcase at any given moment in time with a real-time Power BI-based reporting tool, what we do and how we do it, and where people actually are residing in the region. 2 case studies to showcase a little bit what's going on recently in the city. These are 2 very recent cases. We had the Society of Environmental Toxicology and Chemistry in-house that took place in May, and it took us quite a couple of years, as you know, in the association business. It's long term, quite a couple of years to get them confirmed. First contacts were made in 22, and we had them organizing this year a very nice conference, also directly connected to the Brightlands Camelot campus in the field of chemistry and materials. A really big, large-scale conference in the medical field is the European Stroke Society, the stroke organization that organized its conference also in May, with 5,000 delegates coming from all over the world to Maastricht to attend this conference. And the spin-off is, of course, also significant for the region. It's our driving force, conviction, that we are really striving to connect your association and your delegates with what we do, with what we have in place in the region. That's what we really look for. That's our fundamental choice. If you would bring in a meeting on shipbuilding or forestry, we would say, okay, of course, we'll do our utmost to facilitate you, but it's not in our strategic economic agenda for the upcoming years. And we would preferably then refer you to other destinations in Europe that have that card to play and can draw that card with some expertise. We really focus on conferences that strengthen our ecosystem and where we can really elevate the delegate experience, also by taking out the delegates from the venue and bringing them on site, bringing them with couches to the incubators, organizing lab tours, matchmaking programs, visits to clean room facilities, you name it, but that's what we want to do. We want to generate a new approach on conferencing, not sitting in a plenary room and absorbing what is being said and being told to you. That's also nice, but not for 3 or 4 days. There's more to it in that way. And then it also resonates very well with the participating, in my opinion. Industry days are also often organized. We have now from the IEEE this week the World Conference on Computational Intelligence in-house, and had a full industry day where industry is exhibiting and also connecting to delegates and to participants. New synergies emerge and collaborations are sparked in that way. To wrap it up, our services, we have a very broad network of suppliers, over 100 business partners that are very high-end, high-quality suppliers that can help you making your conference a success. We support you from our side with the full bid development. We also take over all the costs involved in that regard. We have a go-to-Maastricht booking tool that is in place and that can be incorporated into your conference webpage, where delegates can already, before they leave at home, book their own preferred shuttle service from the nearby airports to the city of Maastricht or to the region. And that's all taken care of, let's say, very conveniently. People receive a voucher code and the transportation partner follows your arrival time via your flight number, flight code. And then you're grouped in minivans or in couches together with fellow delegates. It's a form of car sharing. And in that way, you're very efficiently brought to Maastricht. We have a guarantee fund, a financial support mechanism. Financing is an option to pre-finance the startup costs of your conference. It's an interest-free loan from the Dutch government that you can apply for. Very interesting, very lucrative, and much better conditions than with a bank or an insurance company. That's one option. The other option is a guarantee fund, which guarantees that you, in case of force clauses, in case you would have less delegates than foreseen, you get refunded for the difference in terms of the amount of participants. We also give financial support from our side. We gladly do that. We also organize receptions. If you would like to have a reception organized by us at the town hall or the provincial government building, that's possible. And we do a lot of PR and marketing support to make sure that knows you're in town. Some references of meetings that we recently had or that are coming up in the near future. A key title that is coming up is, of course, Optica from the 12th till the 17th of July. And I'm very happy that I can do this here today together with Jessica. She has been to Maastricht a couple of times. She organized already also before in Maastricht, and she is a true ambassador for Maastricht in that way.
Well, thank you so much, Jürgen. And we already have some questions in the chat, but I think before we start answering some of those questions, Jessica would love to hear from your story. You already bring your group to Maastricht. Tell us a little bit more about what's the backgrounds, and also is everything what Jürgen just talked about actually land with you while you go through those decision process and the actual impacting on your show?
Absolutely. And I think Jürgen is the work that he's been doing to put this together is really a direction that other destinations should look into and take advantage of, because it does make a difference in the overall planning and experience for your attendees, but also the mission of your association. A big thing that we're seeing now in the business of events and meeting planners is that meeting planners have evolved from being logistical managers to experienced designers and strategic partners. So the questions and mindsets for selecting destinations changes. It changes to how does it create more value for the attendee, but also how does the destination help your association meet its missions, its goals. One thing that I've learned throughout the years is that no two destination brings the same strengths. Some excel in logistics, others at infrastructure, and some really distinguish themselves through the strength of their academic or industry communities like Maastricht. For Optica, whose conferences bring together researchers, industry leaders, those local connections can really enhance the attendee experience, connecting us with local companies that helps bring in different sponsorships and with people that we haven't been able to reach before. Associations aren't looking for just a convention center anymore. They're looking for partners. What makes one destination stand out is the ability to connect us with people and organizations that we don't necessarily have access to. We don't have access to those local communities. So being able to partner with your CVB and these different knowledge ecosystems really makes a difference. For our upcoming Congress, we've been able to connect with the local photonic groups through connections with with the CVB, but also the different Brightland ecosystems. The AI data set scientist really is an area for optics and photonics. AI is big right now across many sectors, but for image sense, which is what's coming in July, there's a lot of movement there. So there's interest from industry, and AI really touches everything. So again, having these connections, these people, this group serves as a local champion for us and helps us with outreach, connecting us with sponsors, those type of things.
And Jessica, based on what you say, can I say Jürgen's team, the CVBs, almost serve as the local facilitator and connector, basically open access for you?
Yep, absolutely. Connect us with people. In addition, we've committed to having a tour at the University of Maastricht. So that was a connection we made there. So it's again, become a partner, really what it comes down to. The more we know, the more attendees, all of that benefits the city. We give back in different ways, and there's connections with industry and the local community as well.
As you can see, like Jessica represent, honestly, you're not the only one that we talked to lately, that association toward more mission driven in terms for even their site selection process. Jürgen, did you see that? I guess the question is, do you already see any metric of success of this new strategy? And have you seen a shift in the level of conversation with potential association and potential client toward more like what Jessica basically represent?
Certainly. And this did not happen overnight. So it took a couple of years of preparation and reshaping the entire organization. And it was also a complete change of mindset, a shift of mindset that was required. And it also meant that we had to onboard new people that understand what we do, that see the long-term dot on the horizon, and that talk with scientists and with associations in the right way. As I said, we don't see conferences as flying in, residing 3-4 days, and then leaving the region, and then that's it. They have occupied a couple of hotel rooms and they leave again. What we strive for really is to connect them to the region, to build alliances, to connect them in depth with key opinion leaders that we have in the region, to act as that broker, because we do not expect somebody from Chicago or Washington, D.C. to know what we are doing and excelling in our region. That's our role. We are picking up that glove and making that connection and also following up on that. That's our role as I see it. And it's now also seen by the market. So there's multiple people who come to us and say, hey, I see you have a different approach to it. You launched something new, and who are eager to learn more about that in this way.
You just mentioned about something that I think was for us to dive deep a little bit is this doesn't happen overnight, right? You have went through some convincing and educate, not just the market, but actually internally and also the region. For your case, how long it take? And also how did you able to convince them to change mindset?
You're right. It was very tough and very intense. And it took also much longer than I had wished for in the beginning when I started it. It took me 6 to 7 years in total to get it from A to Z. It was tough because if you have been, let's say, 40 years for Maastricht entrepreneurs, for the local community, for that one single city, and then you stand up and say, I have an idea to scale up and to scale up not only with Maastricht, but to involve 3 other cities and the entire region, then many people say, hey, I lose interest. I'm not being served anymore. And there's less attention for me. You have to have very good arguments and proof. And you have to have done your research already before that question pops up to counter that and to say, okay, listen, we have researched, it's feasible. There's more meetings being organized in Europe in the upcoming years. There's an enormous potential. We will enlarge the span of control from only medical meetings to a full new set of 4 other sectors that we will focus on. So there's more potential. We'll scale up the team. We'll gear up, and then you get that buy-in slowly but steadily. But it doesn't go overnight, and you have to deal with politicians. You have lined up a local mayor who is enthusiastic, and then the regional government falls due to reasons or elections or whatsoever, and then you have to start all over again. But in the end, it's worth it, and now starts getting traction.
Now you are also transitioned from only Europe focused into a bit more international, specifically in the US market. With this new approach, what is your current experience right now in the North American market?
For us, it's a very interesting market. We see that resonates well, especially with Americans who are looking at Europe to organize their meetings. Now, our focus is really association meetings. We have dropped the meetings, incentives, and exhibitions approach already in 2015 when I came on board. I said, okay, this is too much. There's no focus. Since then, we apply focus on the associations. That's our core segment. And everybody who's fitting our approach and wants to organize internationally and is looking with one eye to Europe is interesting for us in that.
Now, 7 years in, you are able to have the model going and it's working. We have a lot of the destination on the call that have been either doing something similar or trying to get into more transition into this phase, right? If you can restarting again, any highlight in your experience that you feel can go easier, that can go quicker? Any suggestion?
I think you have to go with the flow. You have a certain span of control. You can pull some strings. For example, the regional governor, I know him very well, and he can put in a good word for you towards other politicians in the region. Together, you can convince, you can pair up with 2, 3, 4 people and enhance the convincing power in that way. But there's a lot of things you cannot influence. As convention bros, we're depending on public money, we're depending on regional politicians, and there's nothing so much fluctuating as politics in that way.
And it like back to another question in the chat, which is asking about the pre-finance pyramid, is how do you what is the kind of the network responsibility of each, right? Like you have the university, you have the government, you have the industry, right? Is the government played a role in terms for regulation approval and also finance? Or finance is actually coming from different part?
The pre-financing fund and the guarantee fund is unique for the Netherlands. It's a structure that we have in place due to the involvement of the Ministry of Economic Affairs. They facilitate this fund. It's a government fund from the national government. And if you are accredited conference organizer and you have a track record of multiple years, let's say into the past, and you can prove that your conference had X amount of successful editions with X amount of delegates, then you can, with support of a Dutch PCO, local PCO from Maastricht, apply for this pre-financing fund or for the guarantee fund or both. Both can also be combined. And then given the track record and your impact and the spin-off you bring to the region, a commission, a neutral, objective commission from the ministry judges your application. I would say that if you fill out the right documents in the right way, with some support from the CVB and from preferably also a PCO, 95% of the cases are granted and you get the support.
But this is really, it's a kind of a national government program, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't technically relate to your regional strategy, am I right? Or because of your regional strategy is towards sector driven, it actually may it more easier or applicable for the national program.
We are ambassadors for that program. So we carry out what they do and we offer it to our clients and our partners. And it's highly neutral and very independent because it's a couple of millions of euros pumped into that fund every year. It's coming from the ministry and then it's being observed and dealt with by an independent commission of experts from various fields, and they grant the money towards the organizing party or to the association or PCO coming with that meeting. It's impossible to get the money if you, for the first attempt, the first try, set up a meeting and say, okay, I've never done this. I have a fantastic concept and I want to get money. Then they say, listen, there's no trick. This is going to be a success. And then it's probably a no that you will receive. But in all other cases, if you bring up the right arguments and the business case is studied and is then considered feasible, it's easy to get it granted.
And I think your team, based on the experience within the programs and also the able to creating that connection, you can technically help the association craft a better argument for getting it right. I would like to bring this back to Jessica, and then also you can chipping in. Do you feel like this sector-driven approach or CVB serve as an asset opener for associations or for meeting professionals? Do you feel this is realistic for almost every kind of meeting, or do you feel this is more benefit for a specific type of conference or convention? Like, for example, your conference, which is scientific and research driven, like this make a lot of sense. But do you feel, just in general, do you feel this actually approach will work for other type of association?
For associations, I think it depends. Ultimately, the principle is really the same, right? Connect attendees with people and organizations that are shaping the field. I think this approach works exceptionally well for conferences built around sciences, engineering, and technology because those meetings naturally benefit from engagement with universities, research institutions, and industry. Where it may not work is for huge trade show type events or meetings where their ecosystem just looks different. It could be a corporate headquarters, it could be government agencies, nonprofits, or even cultural organizations. And again, the level of partnership too is different depending on the size and purpose of the meeting. At a focused scientific conference like what we have, deep engagement with the local research community can have a tremendous impact. Whereas at a much larger trade show, citywide kind of event, those partnerships are still valuable, but they become one piece of a much broader strategy that also includes industry engagement, which you can get those connections through this kind of partnership, but it also helps with exhibition growth, sponsorships, and then ultimately the attendee experience.
And Eugene, how about from you? I know that right now you had a specific sector you are going after, right? I'm pretty confident that in your region, that is not the only industry exists in your region too, right? So what's your roadmap, for example? Like, are you that you are at the moment focusing on the full sector that you identify and you just want to be the number one in that full sector, maybe nationally or even within the Europe of hosting those meetings? Or in your roadmap is this model is going to adapt into a bit more organic approach that can bring and repeat and starting to grow in the other region? Because I'm just thinking from a government perspective, right? Like that is what the politician probably will be looking into is how that help overall the region.
Well, I think, Sean, I think the answer there is twofold. On the one hand, it's the focus applied really specifically to those four sectors that I mentioned, but it's an overarching umbrella per sector. If I say food, nutrition, and agribusiness, that's a one-liner, but there's so much underneath it. Same goes with chemistry, new materials, smart materials. There's so much niche developments, niche segments underneath that the potential is enormous. So it's not our goal to excel in only one field of expertise. It's our goal to service every association that fits our region, serve them with a tailor-made approach, and connect them to the right segments, sub-segments, or niche players that we have in the region. And that's what we do. And our business developers who are active in that specific pillar or in that sector, they know on which door to knock and to whom to talk to. And for Optica is also in that way very relevant because we have a science and engineering faculty with the University of Maastricht. It's the youngest, newest faculty of the Maastricht University. And affiliated to that faculty, we have a lot of companies in photonics, in imaging, in mass spectrometry. We had top-notch conferences in these fields already. And when we first started talking to Jessica on this proposal, having Optica, then we dive deeper into, okay, who do we know? Which connections can we make? Which departments can we activate? Often we know it, and if we don't know it, we just give a call to the president of the board of the university or one of the vice presidents and say, hey, we have an enormous potential opportunity here where we can really make the connection. Can you assist us and help us? And that's how we from scratch, from bottom up, build the case and then that connection.
That's a great point, especially at the beginning you mentioned about even with the fourth sector, there's so much depth actually within this that continue can growth, right? So starting to wrap it up, Eugene, would you be able to, like we have quite a few destination representatives on the call today, and if let's say any one of them would like to bring this back to their office and approach this type of strategy change in their own organization, where would you suggest they start?
Start with yourself. Take time to reflect, give it some consideration, some thought. That's what I did. Do I still add value in 10, 15 years from now? Or do we have to change as an organization, as an association? What are hiccups? What are threats? What are opportunities? Take some time every week, a couple of hours to list them, scratch them on a note, and then bring it at a certain moment together and say, okay, this is what I see. These are prognoses, upcoming developments, and then build a case around that and see what you want to change or implement from there. And then the step approach is, in my opinion, a vision document, a case study, or a business case completely worked out, bring in expertise from those people that know and that can assist you, and start building the case with the right argumentation. Then you're also capable of convincing your directors, your stakeholders, your owners, or whoever it may be, your regional politicians, to come along with you on that journey. But And then if there is a risk, you can also counter it and say, listen, it's calculated risk, because maybe in the first phase you get a bit less attention than what you used to get, but in the longer phase, these are the takeaways, and this is what is in the end rewarding you and making you better and making us better as an organization or as an association.
Jessica, so from association perspective, what would make you recommend this kind of partnership to appear at other associations? What type of question you will recommend other associations to ask when they approach other destinations?
I would recommend it when the destination is committed to being a true partner rather than a venue provider. A lot of times, attendees are not going to necessarily remember the convention center. They're going to remember their experience, who they met, what collaborations they had. So that would be one of them. I would check to see if the destination understands our goals, the mission, the goal of the committee or the conference, but also the association. Can they connect us with people or groups that we can't connect with ourselves? Do they stay engaged throughout the planning process? Once the contract is signed, are they done and you never hear from them again? They actively contribute to maybe strengthening the content of your program, again, making those connections, understanding what the conference that you're bringing and seeing where you can make those connections. Yeah, I think when you bring all those things together, both sides win. So I think that's what I would definitely recommend to those who are looking for this kind of partnership.
Those are good questions actually to have in mind even when you talk to destination, right? Because I think if you ask any destination, they would all tell you, yes, we're here as your partner, right? But it's really that follow-up question for you to identify at what level. Eugen, to help us wrap this up, look ahead. What does success look like to the Maastricht approach in 5 years?
That's a good question, but it's a very relevant one, because we have brought in multiple stakeholders, new partners who put money on the table, who give mandates, who support you, but they want return on investment. So that's going through my head every day, I would say, in that way. I would say we will be successful and we're on the right path to success. But in 5 years from now, we'll have positioned the region of Limburg as a top knowledge region. We already became a part of the top 7 most knowledge-driven regions of the world by the International Community Forum. So that means that we are already being recognized in that way. But in terms of meetings, in 5 years from now, we'll have multiple meetings going on every day throughout the region on the various campuses of Brightlands, in the MECC, the big meetings. And it's a vibrant region full of knowledge sharing and valorization and knowledge sharing, connecting the outside world, delegates, visitors to our own regional people and experts and key opinion leaders.
Thank you, Eugen. That is a great way to wrap this up. Thanks so much for everyone who joined us today, and hopefully we'll see you in the next episode of the International Market Brief.